Okay, so it says hence write down the minimum value of this expression, and it's worth 1 mark, so it's got to be easy, and indeed it is. Hence, so we've got to use the previous part, it's got something to do with that, and we found out that this expression was identical to 25 cos of x plus 1.287, and the minimum value would then be minus 25. Okay? Now you might be wondering, how did he know that? Well, it's very easy. When you get questions like this, the max and min values are the max and min values of your R value. Okay? So you could get plus 25 for the maximum and minimum value would be minus 25. But I'll show you why. Okay? Because these questions crop up an awful lot in the papers. For this kind of question, what you need to do first of all is just think about what the graph of f of x equaling cos x looks like. You should be familiar with it, okay? And it crosses the x-axis at these points here, minus pi upon 2 radians, pi upon 2 radians, 3 pi upon 2 radians, and it goes between minus 1 and 1. Anyway, a graph that you should be familiar with. Now what we do is we start to transform this graph. We next think of the graph of f of x plus 1.287, where we replace the x with x plus 1.287. So we get this new equation, the cosine of x plus 1.287, this part here. And what does this do to any graph? Well, you should be familiar with the fact that this would translate our graph here to the left by 1.287 units. Okay, so if we were to translate that to the left, we're going to get something like this. Okay, now then, what do we do next? Well, we've got a 25 now in front of the cosine of x plus 1.287, so we need to multiply this by 25. And what would that do to this dotted graph? Well, we should know that it stretches the graph parallel to the y-axis by a factor of 25, and I've got it drawn in here. So the graph will now, instead of being at 1 here, it's now been stretched by a factor of 25, so this value up here is going to be 25, and the minimum value down here, we have stretched the minus 1 value down by 25 units, so it's going to be minus 25, and that's why we should know that the minimum value is minus 25. And if we were asked the maximum value, it would have been 25. And questions like this, when you've got anything expressed in this form where you've got an R here, the maximum value will always be R, the minimum value will be minus R. So I hope you can see why we can just write this down. Okay, well that brings us to the end of this part then.